Well, welcome back everybody to PoolieMagTV, the raw, unedited, unscripted NUFC fan channel where everybody's got an opinion and nobody's opinion's wrong. So today, well, I'd be amiss, wouldn't I, if I didn't talk again about the Alexander Isak transfer saga. But I didn't bring this out yesterday because, like I said in a previous video, I'm trying not to be too reactionary these days. I'm trying to let things sink in, and then speak about them instead of speaking about them on impulse where the anger, and the vitriol comes out. So in today's video, we will be discussing Alexander Isak's transfer saga. But what I want to say is, I really want to thank everybody who's been commenting lately. There's been some new commenters on the channel, and that's absolutely fantastic. It's helping the channel grow. So if you like what you see, if you like my opinions on football, I'm not the big machine like the Toon Review is or the Magpie channel. I don't have money to go to Singapore. I don't know how to edit videos like they do. So, but if you just like the raw fan who speaks his mind, gives his opinion and gives a few facts and knows a little bit about what he's talking about, then subscribe, comment down below and share the channel and help it grow. But we'll get into today's episode of PoolieMagTV, and that is Alexander Isak. Once again, I'm making a video on Alexander Isak, and I don't really want to be doing too many videos on the same person, but I'd be remiss, wouldn't I, if I didn't make a video on what the hell is going on at Newcastle United. But like I said, I didn't want to make an angry video. It took a little bit of time to sink in to what's actually going on, and I've got a level-headed view, and this is what I'm going to present to you today. So Alexander Isak joined 3 years ago from Real Sociedad. He'd had a really good season the season before we bought him. The 2 seasons before we bought him. The season before we bought him, and he was a little bit injured. Clubs weren't really wanting to take a punt on him. We took a punt on him, spent over £60 million on him, and he scored his first goal at Anfield. Looked a well beater. I'd watched bits of him for Sociedad and I was excited about his move. Comes later in the season, he gets injured, and I think he'd only scored 1 or 2 goals up until the header against Wolves, and then he went on a goal-scoring streak, didn't he? And I ended up with 11 goals at the end of his first season. Then he scored over 20 goals in his subsequent 2 seasons after that, and now he is up there as probably the best striker in the Premier League for me. Mo Salah's not a striker. Erling Haaland is a really good striker, isn't he? But Isak adds more to the game than Erling Haaland for me. Isak's more of an all-rounder. If Isak could sort his one-on-ones out, he'd be the best striker in the world. That's all he needs to work on for me. His heading's good when he gets actually a cross in the box. His movement in the box could be a little bit more poach-like, and if he was better in one-on-ones. But I'm just nitpicking. He's a fantastic player all round, and he's been absolutely remarkable for us, and one of the best players we've ever seen in a black and white shirt. Well, I have anyway. He's certainly up there as one of the best, if not the best player I've seen in a Newcastle shirt. So, speaking of that, he scores the winning goal in the Carabao Cup. People talk about the Dan Burn header because obviously he's a local lad. It's the first cup final goal we've scored since God knows when. Since I've been born, we never scored in a cup final. And that was 1990, and we've been in a few since then. But it was Alexander Isak's cool, calm finish to make it 2-0. That got us, the trophy. Because if he hadn't scored that, then it would have been 1-1, wouldn't it? So he scored that, and he was great that game. He was great in the semi-finals against Arsenal. He battered Arsenal, didn't he? And he won us, not single-handedly, but he won us the trophy. He was at the parade. He looked great. He looked happy, and he's ticked that box now, and he'll have been thinking, right, okay, let's get Champions League football for this club. Let's see how this club pushes on. Let's see what new contract they get, because I know what everybody else is on. I know what a Marcus Rashford's on, and I'm better than him. I know what a Mo Salah's on, and I'm as good as him. I know what an Erling Haaland's on, and I'm as good as him. I know what other players are on. Nicholas Jackson will be on, and I'm way, way better than him, and I bet you he's on more money than me. These are all the things that have been cogging up, you know, that have been rotating in Alexander Isak's mind without a shadow of a doubt. You know, I work in the social care industry. You know, now I'm moving jobs for more money, right? You know, it's just a simple fact, and you think, well, yeah, Steve, you won't be on life changing money, so that's fair enough. Yeah, but you know, there's people in the office, you know, that you work with that you think, well, you know, I do more work than them, and how come they are more money than me? You know, it's just a natural human reaction, isn't it? Of course it is. You know, you look about and you think, if you work in a factory, I've worked in factories before, and you think, I'm pulling my puddings out here and he's not doing out, and he's walking away with the same wage as me. How's that fair? You just do. It's just, you know, it's just a natural human reaction. You know, and you think, well, yeah, you're on 120 grand a week, isn't that enough? Well, yeah, it probably is enough. But wouldn't you want more if you knew your counterparts were getting more? It's not greed. It's just validation for how good you are. You know, football's mad. Every wage is astronomical. No footballer should be on more than 10 grand a week. And that includes Ronaldo, in my eyes. They shouldn't. They just shouldn't, but it's just the way football works. So if Mo Salah's on 300 odd grand a week, Erling Haaland's on 500 odd grand a week, and, you know, Alexander Isak's is good, or if not better than them two, and he's only on 120 grand a week, well, don't you think his agent and himself will be looking at that and thinking, I want more money here. I want more money here. I've got to, and not just do I want more money, where's the help that I'm going to be getting next season? Where's the support I'm going to be getting next season? We were promised this player, that player, this player, that player. There's only one come in. What's going on? Because I'd be looking around if I was Isak, if I was Tonali, and I was Bruno, and I was Botman, and I was Gordon, and I'd be looking around thinking, what the hell is going on here? You know, why isn't anybody coming in? Why can't we get these deals through? Why aren't the owners, you know, trying to bring in more money? All these questions will be ringing in my head. If we've got PSR, then how are we going to grow? You know, I'm trying to grow this brand. I'm trying to grow this club, but it's not growing with me. This is what Alexander Isak will be thinking. You know, he'll be thinking, if you can't offer me what I want, then I'll go somewhere else. It's as simple as that. It's like any negotiation. Like I say, I'm moving jobs, not solely for more money, because it's better for me. You know what I mean? And that's just me. So he's going to look at that and think, okay, well, I've done everything I can for Newcastle United, and my wage still isn't going up. My wage still isn't matching the players in the Premier League that I'm as good as or better than. I want more money. Yes, you've got Champions League football. Yes, you've got a trophy. But I could go to Liverpool and I could win the league. I could win the Champions League. I'm not going to win the league or the Champions League with you. And they're going to pay me wages and all. So, you know, as much as we would hate to see Isak go, I ain't going to call him a traitor. I ain't going to call him, you know, names or a Judas. If he went to Liverpool, I'd be gutted. I really would, because I can't stand Liverpool, and he would make them a whole lot better. But would I blame him? Nah, I wouldn't blame him at all. I really would not blame Alexander Isak if he went to Liverpool. I really wouldn't. And this is me being totally honest now, because I would. And I'm a massive, massive, massive Newcastle fan. But if I was the best striker in the world, if I was Alan Shearer now, and I'm the best striker in the world, and Erling Haaland's on 400 grand a week more than me, and Newcastle can't even give me 200 grand, well, and Liverpool are going to offer me 300 and odd, I'm going to Liverpool, because I've got a family to think about. I've got grandkids and great-grandkids that haven't even been born to think about. I've got generational wealth to think about. Football's a short career. I want to win trophies. I want to win things. I'm looking at the club that I'm at now, can't even bring a player in. You know what I mean? They can't bring anybody in. And they can't match my wages. Well, believe me, I'd be off. And I'm a Newcastle fan, and I'd still be gone. So I don't blame Alexander Isak one bit if he goes. I don't blame him for wanting to explore options. I do blame PSR. I do blame our ownership for not trying to loophole PSR, not trying to get more sponsorship money in, not trying to build our profile up more, and not focusing on Newcastle United more instead of the Live Golf and all the other rubbish that they've got going on. They're the people who I blame. I do not blame Alexander Isak one tiny bit. Football is a short career, Eddie Howe said it. And I truly believe Alexander Isak's the best striker in the world. And if Newcastle aren't willing to match his wages and match his ambition, then he was always going to go. So there we go. That's my opinion on Alexander Isak. I ain't going to come here and slag him off at all. I'm not going to do that. When players the likes of Theo Walcott, who were nowhere near or what they deserved to be, what they were on originally, start kicking up a stink for more money. I can't stand that. But if anybody deserves more money in this crazy world of football, it's Alexander Isak. And that's just my opinion. So anyway, that might divide viewers. We're going to get some anger. I know we are. We're going to have some angry people. If you comment and you're angry, that's fair enough. I'm all for that. But, try to respect my opinion, because I'm trying to look at it from a level-headed point of view. And this money that we get from Alexander Isak can help rebuild the team anyway, if Piff can get a few deals over the line. But like I say, that's my view on it. This will be coming out a couple of days after I'm doing it on a Friday morning. It'll come out Saturday, midday Saturday. So it'll be a couple of days behind. Liverpool might have already made a bid by then. If they have, comment down below. We can have a little bit of a crack. Subscribe, like, help the channel grow. But anyway, hope everybody has a fantastic, weekend. No matter what you're doing, stay safe. Speak to your loved ones. All that jazz. Have a nice time. Just be respectful and take care of yourselves. And always, as I always say, keep it black and white and keep it PoolieMagTV. Over and out, folks.